Hey guys, $20 microphone here, and yes, the title is in fact not clickbait. These books do exist, and they're really interesting. Now, I like to start by giving a little bit of backstory first on how I became associated with Mothman as a whole. I did learn of Mothman when I played that shitty Roblox horror game that's like probably somewhere you can find on one of my like playlists. Keep in mind I was 14 years old when I made this video. Please don't hold it against me. His character kind of stuck with me from that game for some reason. I went into like a deep dive of lore about Mothman in general. This was just in a growing rise of me being like kind of obsessed with moth-related characters. Shout out Killer Moth, like the best Batman villain of all time. But that led me to looking up an image of Killer Moth, not Killer Moth, Mothman, and I, for some reason, came across a book. The book was titled I'm in Love with Mothman. And let's just say I was quite interested by this title in more ways than one. I haven't voluntarily read a book since like junior year of high school. And yes, while that was like only like 2 years ago, that's still a long time to go without voluntarily reading a book. I'm personally trying to change that though by reading Helm of Midnight. I just started it. I can't really say if it's good or not. I hope it's good. I got curious on how deep the rabbit hole of Mothman romance books goes. And let me tell you, it goes a lot deeper than you thought it would. So I found some books. I think there's a total of 8 or 9, but here's the catch. One of them's a trilogy. We have a trilogy of Mothman romance books here, guys. And just a disclaimer, I don't want to send any hate towards the authors or anybody who reads these types of books. If you read these books, all power to you. I want to date Mothman too. And like, I guess this is the first step. All right, let's start with the trilogy of books. The first book I found when I was initially looking up that original PNG of just Mothman for no apparent reason. This was the first book in the trilogy, actually. It is called I'm in Love with Mothman, and it's by Paige. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name because I'm just going to butcher it anyways. But here is the description on the back of the book. 22-year-old Heather is suffering from an epic case of burnout. So just like any other young influencer, she abandons all her platforms. Check. Gathers up her best flowery dresses. Check. And moves to a desolate cabin. Check. Heather imagines spending her hashtag unplugged days traipsing through the woods and tending to her garden. However, her cottagecore fantasy is turned upside down when the wounded cryptid crashes into her roof and her heart. With no help from her internet followers and the local monster hunter growing suspicious, Heather's quiet life in the wilderness has suddenly become a little more complicated. To make matters worse, she thinks she might be falling in love with the brooding winged man in her living room. Oh my god, I'm sorry. This sounds like peak though. I unironically read this. I'm curious how old the writer is of this. From the use of terms like hashtag unplugged or like any other young influencer, it gives a little bit of how do you do fellow kids type of energy. The book itself has 4.2 stars and 422 reviews. It's a 3.7 on Goodreads. Like, that's the thing about most of these books. They have pretty good reviews, at least from the ones I've seen. So I'm curious who's reading them. We're gonna check out 3 of the reviews for this. It's a really cute story, not very spicy, 2 out of 5, but still worth reading. I usually don't pay for books, but this is one I'll buy the next in the series too. Okay, so they're hooked into this story. I know I know it's not supposed to be realistic, but without spoilers, I was infuriated at the end of the book, and it completely ruined it for me. The punishment did not fit the crimes of the villain. That's all I'm saying. 3 stars because the rest of it was pretty cute. And if you overlook the chronically online main character and her willingness to forgive everyone despite what they do to her. What does that mean? What do they do to this main character that makes you see? What? What happens in this book? Okay, this one seems to be kind of like a summary of the book, so we'll just read this one. It's 4 stars, verified purchase. Come for the cryptid, stay for the ... cryptid. Let's be honest, that's why we're all here. This is true. I'm here because of Mothman. There's no other reason I'm not here. Heather has an idyllic life, at least according to her social media. 22 years old, well-established brand, loyal followers, complete with trolls and haters, they put in parentheses. Everything seems to be picture perfect. But burnout is real, even in the fictional world. Heather just needs to step back, and while many of us might have stopped posting for a while or announced a hiatus, she packed up her life and moved to a cabin in the woods in Ohio. You gotta specify it's in Ohio, of course. I think that is where Mothman's originated from. Correct me if I'm wrong, editing Connor. So it turns out Mothman's actually from West Virginia. You know, I thought I should specify that. I don't know why the story takes place in Ohio, but it just does for some reason. It's been a while since I've caught up on the lore. Adjusting to life in the woods is just as you'd expect it to be for a city girl, but I don't think anyone could have planned for Mothman to literally crash into their world, and thus the story of Heather and Mothman unfurls his feathery wings. I really like this summary. It's very dramatic. I will admit I don't particularly care for contemporary fiction. I can't get enough of the current world as it is. I don't really want to escape more of the same. That said, I really enjoyed this book. Paige creates a world that's relatable, but not in a way that feels routine or tired. An addition of cryptid is definitely a bonus. The characters are all relatively likable until they're not supposed to be. I like Heather well enough, but I did struggle with some of her petulant attitude, and I had to keep reminding myself she's only 22, and it's been a while since I was 22. ... I'd probably act the same way. What is happening in this book that has lines like this? Because I know books, like romance books in general, can be psychotic in their nature, but I'm concerned what's going on with Mothman in this book. And this is the least concerning out of all of the books I'm going to be talking about. Well, actually, there's one, but we'll get to that one later. That one actually looks not terrible. Of course, it's a romance. It's in the title. There's some steamy bits. Although I felt like they were tastefully done while making things spicy. There are a few F-bombs here and there, but it didn't seem out of place. If you like romance, fantasy, and cryptids, especially Mothman, definitely give this a read. But yeah, that's the first of the trilogy, may I mind you. You want to know what the second book in the trilogy is called? Glad you asked. It is, of course, titled I'm Engaged to Mothman. So it seems like they've stepped up their relationship since last book. Let's look at this description and see what happens. When 23-year-old Heather starts dating Mothman, she anticipated a few surprises. Getting transported to the fairy realm he was banished from? What? Yeah, that was a surprise. Heather was sure dating a forest monster meant she wouldn't have to... Wait, what? Sorry, hold on. Heather was sure dating a forest monster meant she wouldn't have to impress his family. But faced with the royal court of Eclipsa, she realizes things might not be so simple. The former influencer must trade her quiet # cottage. I'm sorry, this is just so goofy. The former influencer must trade her quiet # cottagecore aesthetic for a lavish #royalcore week in the new world filled with creatures, ball gowns, and secrets. With Moth's family to impress, old friends resurfacing, and his memories returning, Heather begins to question their future. As the grand ball gets closer and Moth creeps out of the bed in the middle of the night, Heather can't help herself but wonder, can their cozy cottage in the woods compete with a castle? So things are getting like kind of spadicey here, not gonna lie. Let's see, let's look at the reviews for this one. 4.5 stars, 66 reviews. Higher reviews but less of a score. 4.0 on Goodreads. Okay, people are liking this book more, I guess. I guess this is where it's like die-hard fans read it. Okay, we'll just do one review for this one. And it also seems like another summer review. Heather and Moth are very happy with their life. Heather and Moth, oh my god, I can't read. Heather and Moth are very happy in the life they've. I'm so fucking dyslexic. Very happy with the life they've. It's been a pain to edit this one. Heather and Moth are very happy with the life they are building in the cabins in the woods. But when a portal suddenly opens up and takes them back to Moth's home and fairy realm, will he want to remain in a cramped cabin with Heather, or will he want to remain and become king that it was once meant to be? I enjoyed reading this book. I have visited both the Mothman statue and the Mothman Museum. There's a Mothman Museum? Moth is a very interesting character, with quite a few surprising layers to him. But his family history is quite a bit for a girl born to the human lands. Okay. This just sounds like we're starting to get a little bit like speciesist here, guys. Let's calm down. And Heather is even more fascinating. This character has Hashimoto's disease, making their time in Fairyland a bit of a challenge without her medication. I need to look up what Hashimoto's disease is. We'll do that after we're done like checking out all the books. So I never actually did end up looking up what it was during this, but that's fine, Connor, because I can do it here. So according to the Cleveland Clinic, Hashimoto's disease is a chronic autoimmune disease that affects your thyroid gland. It can cause lower than normal levels of thyroid hormone in your body. This affects several areas of your body and can cause symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, or constipation. Hashimoto's disease is treatable with medication. So if anybody can win the Moth's family over, it should be her, even if she isn't royalty herself. And it's not the only difficulty she and Moth will have to face. If you like fantasy stories involving creatures, multiple realms, and stories that tug on your heartstrings, then you will likely enjoy this book. I know that I did, and I'm looking forward to reading the next book in the series. I recommend getting this series a fun try. There's like no bad reviews for this thing. There's like 1 2-star and then like 2 3-star. People are loving this book, I gotta say.
I'm in love with an emo girl. I fell in love with an...
This one isn't even out yet. Yeah, that's right. It comes out in December, guys. We gotta wait for the third one, which is of course titled, I'm Getting Married to Mothman. Bachelorette parties are supposed to be fun, right? Until her fun night in the fairy realm ends with Heather getting pulled through a portal, kidnapped by the impossible vampire queen who king, not queen. Sorry, they're not. We can't really have like lesbians in a romance book. Sorry. Yeah, this one's for straight women only. Sorry. Kidnapped by an impossible vampire king who swears to make her his bride. Determined not to be a damsel, Heather hatches her escape plan using her greatest weapons, her charm, and her cell phone. But with a vampire determined to make her his bride, she may be in over her head. After years alone, Moth can't believe that he'll soon be married to his flame. But with Heather missing and his memories of Eclipsica, not Eclipsa, sorry, my bad, I've been calling it wrong this whole time, Foggy, his world is shaken. The cryptid will not only need to sheath his claws and work with his friends to find his bride, but he will have to contend with something even more challenging. His future mother-in-law. Like a moth to a flame. Moth and Heather will always find each other, but will it be in time for the wedding? They treat Mothman like a normal dude. It's kind of fun. He's just a person in these books. He just happens to be from like a fairy realm and have like wings and fur and shit. Like I said though, this one's not out yet, so I can't look at any reviews. It comes out I think early December for any of those curious. If they want to get the full trilogy set, you might have to wait until then to buy it. But I need to specify too, this is the first time I'm reading these. This is my first time reading this along with yours, unless you've seen the book before. But like I just saw the cover and the title and made sure it was kind of about Mothman or Mothman adjacent things, and I just saved it for this. So this is both my first reaction to this bullshit too.
Like a moth in the flame, when you burn, you learn.
Alright, our next book is titled I Married a Mothman, Prime Mating Agency. Oh, this is already a gem based on that title and that cover. Okay. Regine Abel, US Today best-selling author. Oh. We got like an official writer on our hands. And also, reviews-wise, 4.6 stars out of 1,214 reviews. And 4.4 on Goodreads. We're looking good so far, guys. He's everything she never knew she wanted. When Venus embarked on a luxury cruise, she never expected to rescue a young Promethean demigod, or that he'd bind her as his guardian. Now stranded on his primitive... What? What is happening? I'm so confused already. Now stranded on his primitive planet, she agrees to a temporary marriage of convenience to Atlas, the commander of the Black Guard, in exchange for protection against those hell-bent on seizing control of the youngling in her care. What is happening? Against all odds, she's able to find herself falling for the sweet and honorable Atlas. Antenna, scales, wings, and all. Okay. She is his light, his impossible dream. As an achromatic Promethean, Atlas has accepted that his society considers him lower than dirt, until the arrival of a fascinating human turns his life upside down. I love how these are framed like a fucking Hallmark movie. When forced to pick a husband, Venus not only chooses him over the elite, but treats him with kindness and respect he's never experienced. As they join forces to thwart a threat to his people, her intelligence, beauty, and fierceness soon stir in him desires forbidden to his kind. In their dire race against the clock, will Venus and Atlas solve the mystery of the impending cataclysm, or will it destroy everything, including the impossible happiness blossoming between them? This sounds wonderful. Oh, okay. So this has something on Amazon where it's popular highlights in this books, where it seems to be quotes or lines and stuff. We're gonna read a couple because I'm curious. We have, yes, Venus, Atlas is your soulmate. Even if when I don't try, I succeed, he said, shaking his head in a mix of amusement and disbelief. It's something else being me. When did I start just reading Star Trek fan fiction? I'm looking for Mothman people, not space moths. Alright, next one. This one's titled Moth. Monster Romance. Okay, this one seems to be another part of a series, guys. Let's see what this one says. When I, along with my best friend and his big purple monster boyfriend, came across a fortress-like raider camp while journeying across the monster-infested wastes, we stopped to deliver a message. This is already, like, hooking me in. I don't know what's happening, but I'm hooked, guys. Somehow, that simple pit stop turns into a seemingly impossible quest to get this camp's missing leader out of prison, where he's being held and forced to fight monsters and other humans. I knew exactly where it is, 'cause I've been there. Problem is, I'm making this journey with the prickliest, most arrogant guy I've ever met, who seems to immediately hate me on sight. Oh, and he's also half monster, so there's that. And he's in love with a raider who definitely does not love him back and seems determined to take it out on me. So there's also that. But I'm not going to rise with his childish insults and barbed words. Going to try very hard to ignore how mind-numbingly beautiful he is, even when he scowls at me. But the longer we're out here together, the more I learn about my prickly monster half-monster companion, Moth. I realize there's a reason he's so closed off and angry. There's a reason he hates everybody. There's secrets he's been keeping, and when I find out what they are, I will do everything in my power to help him, even though he's telling me he can't be helped. This has nothing also to do with Mothman. It's just called Moth. Moth is the 5th book of the Monstrous series, a post-apocalyptic what does MM stand for? I don't know what MM stands for, but that's there. Fantasy series that features moths and human men falling in love. It is best to read the series in order. I'm assuming it is, because I have no idea what's happening. It seems like a lot of these love having wild shit happen in them. And I don't know if the character is Mothman. His name is Moth. Is he a moth but also a man? Is he like the last one? Wait. This one also has a highlight feature. Hold on, there's one of these. And they were aimed at Ghost with an embarrassingly obvious expression. Christ, his pupils practically reshaped themselves into cartoon hearts. I suppressed my wince and glanced down at Ghost's hand, firmingly tucked inside Ari's tough inside Ari's? What is happening?
You just got slapped.
Alright, this next one seems like an absolute gem, let me tell you that. This one is titled, How I Met Your Mother, a star-crossed cryptids novella. So this one's about Mothman, guys. We've won. Alright, this one's a shorter synopsis for it. Elliot is just trying to keep it together when a creature of legend crash lands right in front of him one stormy night. Why does Mothman crash a lot? Like it happened in the first one too. Is he just that bad at flying? Though he's huge and intimidating, Elliot has has to admit that his unexpected guest is also sweet and kind. But can he trust him? Can Elliot let himself ... want him? This was such a fun read. Short, sweet, and a little spicy, guys. And really heartfelt. I love seeing Biss and Elliot's unfolding love story. Mothman has been a running obsession for me. I can relate. And Biss absolutely did not disappoint. I adore his cinnamon roll vibes and how he's caring and considerate, and how caring and considerate he is towards Elliot. Respecting all of his past trauma and potential hang-ups, while still providing him with a safe space to share as he felt comfortable doing so. I really appreciate how well mental health and LGBTQ representation were handled, and I definitely will be looking for more from Miranda Sapphire in the future. That's something I kind of do want to get him into more, and I'll do that later when I talk about the book that actually seems really good and that I might personally check out myself. We'll do that book at the end, because for now we're just kind of goofing around, but that one seems a bit more, like a bit more heartfelt. Mothman just does have a lot of ties to LGBTQ representation, and honestly, I think that's pretty cool. I like when people are able to relate to characters, and being in a group as limited with characters as the LGBTQ is, I kind of find it fun that like people can just latch on to cryptids and just kind of like make them an icon for how like for their representation. But again, we'll get into that more later. Hi guys, it's Connor. I decided that I want to put a trigger warning here just in case. It doesn't go in depth or anything. It's just one of the reviews mentions the aspect that this writer has delved into issues revolving the trigger warning on screen right now. So I would like to think that I handle it kind of tastefully. I pop in for a little bit in my editing form just to give a little bit more information why I think this is a little bit more harmful. But if you don't want to hear about any of that, I would just skip to the next book. Thank you and have a nice day. Okay. This looks like an absolute banger. These last two that like I'm gonna be joking about look like absolute bangers, let me tell you that. This one is Moth Wanted, a dark Mothman romance A dark Mothman romance monster book. Monsters in the Bed. So this one seems to be a part of another series. 4.1 stars. I put on a hat because my hair was getting too much on my face. All right, let's read the synopsis for this book, though. As a female detective for the NYPD, I thought I'd seen everything. But when a string of murders goes unsolved, I'm led to some very dark places. Every witness tells me the same thing. The killer was a creature with red eyes and massive wings. A Mothman? A cryptid? Obviously not real. I don't believe in urban legends, but I'm used to hunting evil. It's up to me to follow the leads, and where I go and the evidence takes me, what I find is a monster. A dark harbinger of doom. Devastatingly real. But I'm even... Whoa, okay. Okay, this... Alright, I'm gonna read this, but, this is the author saying it. I swear it's not me saying it. There are even more surprises in store. I never expected him to be so darn hot. I never expected to become his prey. I never expected to become his prey. Now the hunter has become the hunted, and escaping this winged nightmare without surrendering to his dark charms might be the last thing I never do. Oh god, this is peak. Fan-freaking-tastic. Loki's stories have always been capturing my imagination and made me fall in love with them. This story is just as potent, with great action, intense emotions, and naughty bad things, and fantastic characters. Thanks, Loki. I absolutely love your stories and can't wait to see what happens next. Oh, wait, guys, we have a... Guys, we have a 3-star review. Somebody didn't like this book. Hold on. Sound the alarms. A 3-star review on this peak? What? Very odd, but that's typical for this author. I have to complain about the heroine visiting the morgue and finding the coroner dressed in a lab coat and street clothes while in the autopsy room. Not going to happen. They wear scrubs while they work. And gowns and shoe coverings. Hair covers and face shields. They don't wear a lab coat and street clothes. Come on, man. Okay, wait, guys. Guys, we have another bad review. Hold on. Locally, I'm sorry. Loki is usually good at these types of pairings, but it saddens me to write that the end was not worthy of the lead up, in my opinion. It felt rushed and incomplete, and didn't jive with the rest of the narrative. Though she often teases the border edges of Oh no. That's... this book seemed funny until it brought up that. Thank you, commenter. If I do ever read one of these books, I'm not reading this one. Edge of non-con and her stories, and this was a little bit too much for me at the end, and unfortunately it just felt a bit icky. I gave it 3 stars because it's decent through most of the story, and the characters are good, and it's an entertaining read. I don't like that. I don't like that there's not... Yeah, we're moving on. I'm putting on the hat to edit this too. I gotta keep like the somewhat continuity. But I kind of want to describe what I was feeling a little bit more, because there's been prevalent themes, unfortunately, in just like dark romance, as it's kind of called, with stuff that's not very moral in question, and it's not really a place for me to talk about. I don't really know the sphere of this. I've watched people cover topics like this in the past and how problematic they can be. It's odd how romanticized stuff like this can be sometimes. I think it's been really interesting to see the rollout of the movie It Ends With Us, which is by an author who has made some very questionable books before. But just noticing on how aspects of harmful behavior are romanticized, and just how prevalent that can be in some occasions. And yes, while this is a goofy video and we're talking about silly romance books, unfortunately, there's just always going to be darker undertones to some stories, and I don't think a book like this or an author like this is representative as the whole of like romance books in general. I know there's bad outliers, and most of these books seem pretty harmless, but just that's kind of where I draw the line, where you're kind of getting into territory that's just a little bit too questionable for me to ever read your book. It's just something that I find kind of questionable, and I've seen people in my past too who've read books like this and who have romanticized those types of aspects, and I've seen how books like this that bring up these subjects can affect somebody's mental status about relationships, especially when they're younger, and shouldn't necessarily be reading books with these themes in it. And I don't even think that it's a bad thing to educate yourself on these types of topics when you're younger. I do think it's a bad thing when books romanticize it, though. It messes with your head. It's in developmental phases. We talk about issues with there's so many issues that can influence like a younger person's mind into a worse direction. Unfortunately, I think this just adds to the pile of I think it's properly talked about enough now, though, how harmful these types of ideologies can be for younger audiences, because you can specify a book being 18 plus all you want, but truth being, this is on Amazon. Anybody can buy this book. It's just kind of questionable in my opinion. That's all. I don't want to make this video darker than it has to be.
Well, let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut it. I'll climb.
All right, last book. Let's hope this one doesn't have any of the stuff that the last one had, or else I'm... All right, this one is called Sweet Berries. Cambric Creek Sweet and Steamy Monster Romance Book 2. Okay, so most of these are from series. Yeah. But you know, that doesn't make them it doesn't make them less individually special, guys. Come on. Grace has a job she loves, a community she adores, and plenty of friends. But her lack of bedroom action has left this event planner too horny to think. When one ill-advised night at the bar leads to her giving an exhibitionist show to an unknown presence outside her bedroom window, she thinks she hit a new low when her voyeur turns out to be a nebbishly charming Mothman. Grace needs to decide if she can trust her body and her heart with this garnet-eyed stranger before he flies out of her life for good. Sweet Berries is a monster/human romance featuring high heat and lots of heart, with a guaranteed HDA. I don't know what that is, but I'm not looking it up. Okay, I looked it up because I'm stupid, but thankfully, it's a lot more wholesome than I thought it would be. It literally just means happily ever after, guys. Come on. It's the second book in Cambric Creek Steamy Sweet Monster Romance series. Okay, hold on. Let's look at a review. For this one. This one seems steamy, guys. Oh my gosh, a lot of people are saying it's spicy. There's this thing I keep seeing where people keep giving like Mothman something called hold on, cinnamon roll energy. I don't know what this means.
According to Reddit romance books, a cinnamon roll is a good person, sweet, kind, supported, and too good for this world. May exhibit characteristics typical of an alpha or a beta. That kind of seems like it's it.
I feel like this is kind of the drip, not gonna lie. There is one book I would like to shout out, actually, because it actually seems pretty wholesome of a book. And it would be one I would actually read on my own, because it's... Somebody just honked outside. I don't know what that was. But this one actually seems kind of wholesome. It was a winner of an LGBTQ plus middle grade Lammy Award. I don't know what that is, but Lambda Literary Award. But basically, it says the summary of it is Robin Gow's acclaimed middle grade novel verse about a young trans boy dealing with the loss of his friend by writing about his favorite cryptid, Mothman. So honestly, it seems like a cute book, actually. And it just seems like a good book about grief and feelings, and just I would definitely recommend that one way more than any of the other ones I talked about. Still not throwing shade against them, but just kind of up in this one. Again, I personally have not read it, and I'll probably consider reading it, though, because it does seem just like a pretty wholesome book comparatively to the steamy books we've talked about before. But that's kind of it. Those are the kind of extent of Mothman romance books that seem to be out there. Also, depending on like how this video performs and how it does, I will consider actually buying one of these books. But either way, that's kind of it. I love Mothman. I should write my own romance book about him. You know, I actually just want to write a book about me and Mothman just having a very platonic relationship. We're just like good friends. We got like go out and get coffee on like Tuesdays or something. I'm just rambling now. Bye.